Every single day, the world eats. 7 billion people sit down for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and almost every bite of food on every plate in every country on Earth exists because of one invisible ingredient. A chemical so important that without it, half the world's population would simply not be alive today. That ingredient is nitrogen fertilizer. And right now, in one of the hottest, driest, most remote corners of the entire planet, Australia is spending $4 billion to build a factory that will produce it on a scale that the Southern Hemisphere has never seen before. The project is called Perdaman Urea. It sits in the Pilbara region of Western Australia, a place so harsh and so brutal that temperatures regularly hit 50 degrees Celsius, a place where the red dirt stretches to every horizon, and the nearest city is hundreds of kilometers away. So why would anyone choose this place to build one of the most ambitious industrial projects on Earth? And how do engineers even begin to construct a city-sized factory in the middle of a desert? The answers involve ancient geology, global food security, a rising superpower, and some of the most extraordinary engineering challenges ever attempted in Australia. To understand why this factory matters so much, you have to go back to a laboratory in Germany in the year 1909. A scientist named Fritz Haber made a discovery that would quietly change the entire world. He figured out how to take nitrogen gas straight from the air and turn it into ammonia. This process was then scaled up by another scientist named Carl Bosch, and together they created what is now called the Haber-Bosch process. Before this discovery, the world's farmers had to rely on natural fertilizers like manure and guano, which is the droppings of seabirds, to feed their crops. There was simply not enough of it to grow food for a growing global population. But with the Haber-Bosch process, scientists could pull nitrogen directly out of the atmosphere and turn it into a fertilizer that farmers could spread across their fields. Today, scientists estimate that this single process is responsible for feeding roughly 4 billion people who would otherwise not exist. It is the most important chemical reaction in human history that most people have never heard of. And the key ingredient you need to run this process at a massive industrial scale is natural gas. Australia has enormous amounts of it sitting right beneath the desert floor. The Pilbara region of Western Australia is already famous for one thing: iron ore. The red rocks of this ancient landscape are some of the richest iron deposits on Earth. Giant mining companies have spent decades digging up this ground and shipping the ore to steel mills in Asia. But sitting alongside all that iron deep beneath the desert are some of the largest reserves of natural gas in the entire world. The Scarborough gas field sits just off the coast of the Pilbara, and it holds an estimated 1 trillion cubic feet of gas. That is an almost unimaginable number. To put it in perspective, if you could burn all that gas to power a standard light bulb, it would stay lit for longer than the age of the entire universe. This gas is the heartbeat of the Perdaman project. The factory will use natural gas as its primary ingredient, pulling nitrogen from the air and combining it with hydrogen extracted from the gas to produce ammonia. That ammonia is then processed one step further into urea, which is the most widely used solid fertilizer in the world. A small white granule that looks completely unremarkable, but carries the power to make crops grow in soil that would otherwise produce almost nothing. Building any large industrial facility is complicated. Building one of the largest urea plants ever constructed in one of the most remote and hostile environments on the planet is something else entirely. The Perdaman plant is designed to produce 1 million tons of urea every single year. That is enough fertilizer to fill roughly 140,000 large shipping containers stacked end to end. The scale of the construction effort is enormous. Engineers are looking at hundreds of kilometers of pipes, thousands of pressure vessels, reactors that operate at temperatures above 500 degrees Celsius, and compressors so powerful they could pressurize a football stadium in minutes. The site itself covers an area larger than many small towns, and every single piece of equipment, every bolt, every valve, and every meter of steel pipe has to be transported to a location that has almost no existing infrastructure around it. The logistics alone are a story worth telling. The port of Dampier, which sits on the coast near the project, is being used as the entry point for millions of tons of construction materials. Massive module ships, which are specially designed vessels that carry pre-assembled chunks of the factory, will dock at the port and unload sections of the plant that are as tall as 5-story buildings. These modules are then loaded onto special heavy-lift transporters and driven along carefully prepared roads to the construction site. A single transport move for one of the largest modules can take an entire night, moving at walking pace, with a convoy of escort vehicles and engineers watching every centimeter of the journey. One wrong move, and a module worth tens of millions of dollars could be damaged beyond repair. The desert itself is an enemy that engineers have to fight every single day. The Pilbara is not just hot. It is brutally, relentlessly hot in a way that destroys ordinary materials. Steel expands in heat and contracts in cold. In a place where temperatures can swing by 30 degrees between night and day, every single pipe and vessel in the plant has to be designed with what engineers call thermal expansion joints. These are essentially flexible sections built into the pipework that allow the metal to grow and shrink without cracking open. If you forget to include them, the pipes will eventually tear themselves apart, and in a facility handling pressurized ammonia gas, a burst pipe is not just expensive, it is catastrophic. The ground is another challenge. The Pilbara sits on some of the oldest rock on Earth, ancient granite and iron-rich formations that are billions of years old. In some areas, the rock is incredibly strong, which is great for foundations. But in other areas, engineers have discovered pockets of softer material that cannot support the enormous weight of the processing towers and reactors. In those spots, they have to drill deep into the earth and fill the holes with reinforced concrete piles that carry the weight of the structures down to the solid rock below. Some of these piles go more than 20 meters into the ground. That is deeper than a 6-story building is tall. Then there is the water problem. A urea plant of this size requires enormous amounts of water for cooling, for processing, and for the workers who will eventually operate it. But the Pilbara is one of the driest places in Australia. There are no rivers nearby. There is almost no rainfall for months at a time. The solution is a dedicated water pipeline and a specially engineered water recycling system that captures, cleans, and reuses water over and over again inside the plant. Nothing can be wasted. Every drop is precious. Engineers designed the cooling towers to operate with a much smaller water footprint than a conventional facility, using advanced heat exchange technology to squeeze as much cooling as possible from the limited supply. But here is the question that goes far beyond engineering. Why is Australia, a wealthy nation with a strong economy, spending $64 billion on a fertilizer factory right now? The answer has a lot to do with a map and a country called China. For decades, the global fertilizer market has been dominated by just a handful of countries. Russia, China, and Belarus together control a massive share of the world's fertilizer exports. Australia, like many countries in the Asia-Pacific region, imports huge amounts of fertilizer to feed its own farming sector and to supply the agricultural industries of its neighbors. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the world suddenly discovered exactly how dangerous that dependence was. Fertilizer prices exploded, supplies dried up. Farmers in dozens of countries could not afford to put food in the ground. The price of food went up for everyone. It was a brutal reminder that food security is not just about having good farmland. It is about controlling the supply of the invisible ingredients that make that farmland work. Australia watched this happen and made a decision. It would not be caught in that trap again. The Perdaman plant is a direct answer to that vulnerability. When it reaches full production, it will make Australia one of the largest urea exporters in the Asia-Pacific region. It will supply fertilizer to Australian farmers, to farmers across Southeast Asia, and to agricultural markets in India, one of the largest fertilizer consumers on Earth. It will reduce the dependence of an entire region on suppliers who have shown they are willing to use food as a weapon in a geopolitical fight. In that sense, this factory in the desert is not just an industrial project. It is a piece of strategic infrastructure, as important to national security as a naval base or an Air Force squadron. There is also something deeper happening here that connects directly to the global competition for resources. China has spent years quietly securing control over critical supply chains, rare earth minerals, pharmaceuticals, semiconductor components, and now fertilizer. Australia has some of the world's largest deposits of potash, another critical fertilizer ingredient, in addition to its enormous gas reserves. The decision to build the Perdaman plant is partly Australia saying that it understands this game and intends to play it. By processing its own gas into urea on home soil rather than simply exporting the raw gas, Australia is moving up the value chain. It is not just selling the ingredients, it is selling the finished product. And in the long-term competition for influence and economic power in the Indo-Pacific, that difference matters enormously. The project is expected to create around 2,000 construction jobs at its peak, and roughly 500 permanent operational jobs once the plant is running. In a remote region like the Pilbara, those jobs are significant. Workers will live in a purpose-built camp near the site, a small town in its own right with accommodation, medical facilities, recreation areas, and its own power supply. Running the plant will require engineers, chemists, equipment operators, and logistics specialists. Many of them will spend weeks at a time living on-site in the heart of the desert, doing their jobs in one of the most physically demanding environments imaginable. The project is not without its critics. Environmental groups have raised concerns about the carbon footprint of a facility that uses natural gas on such a massive scale. Urea production through the Haber-Bosch process is one of the most energy-intensive industrial activities in the world. The Perdaman plant will produce significant amounts of carbon dioxide as a byproduct. The company behind the project has pointed to future plans for carbon capture technology and the potential to eventually use green hydrogen, which is hydrogen produced from renewable energy rather than gas, to reduce those emissions over time. But those solutions are still years away from being technically and commercially ready at this scale. For now, the plant will run on gas, and the debate about its environmental cost will continue. The financing of the project is also complex. Getting $4 billion of capital together for a project of this nature, and in this location, requires an extraordinary level of confidence from banks and investors. Major financial institutions and export credit agencies are involved, and the project has taken years of negotiation to reach its current stage. Cost overruns in remote construction projects are not unusual. The heat, the logistics, the labor supply challenges, and the sheer complexity of the engineering make it almost inevitable that some elements will cost more and take longer than the original plan. Every major project of this kind in Australia's resource sector has faced those pressures, and the Perdaman project will almost certainly face them too. Construction is already underway. The timeline targets full production by the late 2020s. When the first ton of urea rolls off the production line in this red desert, it will represent something remarkable. A decision made deliberately and at great cost to take control of a critical resource rather than depend on the goodwill of distant suppliers. An engineering achievement built on some of the oldest rock on the planet in temperatures that melt ordinary ambition, and a signal to every agricultural nation in the Asia-Pacific that the balance of fertilizer power is shifting. The world will keep eating. 7 billion people will keep sitting down for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in the burning red heart of the Australian desert, a machine the size of a small city will quietly make sure those plates stay full. If you want to see more stories about the world's most extraordinary construction projects and the engineering minds behind them, make sure you subscribe to Ultimate Mega Builds. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about Australia's desert fertilizer gamble. And hit that notification bell so you never miss the next big build.